Hello, world.
Hello, world.
We just wrapped up a great podcast.
We had a good time. I think you'll find it very interesting and enjoy it. Is you need a free and fair press. One of the things I like about doing a show like this, can you imagine Kamala doing this show?
I could imagine her doing this show.
She'd be laying on the floor.
She was supposed to do it, and she might still do it, and I hope she does.
She's not going to do it.
I will talk to her like a human being. I would
if
try to have a conversation with her.
If she did this kind of an interview with you, I hope she does, because it would be a mess. She'd be laying on the floor comatose. You'd be saying, call in the medics.
This video is brought to you by TatumStore.com, TatumStore.com. Get the merch link in the description section. McDonald's. I still love this shirt, even though he did McDonald's a long time ago. If you want to get it, we got the yard signs that are going out of control. People are still buying these yard signs. You love it. We're going to try to get it to you before the election. Like and subscribe to the channel. Y'all know the links and stuff will be right down here. Let's get into this. Ladies and gentlemen, I watched the entire 2 hours and 58-minute interview with Joe Rogan and Donald Trump, and I have to say it was absolutely incredible. I didn't expect it to be that good, right? I was like, okay, 3 hours, man. Donald Trump is going to be rambling and doing. He did a little rambling, but I think it was incredibly significant, some of the things that he said. He was funny. He was down to earth. And one of the things that I liked about what he said was he articulated how he came into office, and he had a great explanation of tariffs. Those two parts of his entire interview were incredible, and I think incredibly important for people to watch and listen to.
You're inside the White House.
The biggest thing was just that first moment of being in this hallowed, it was really a hallowed place to me. It was
surreal.
It was beyond. To me, that was the experience. It was a surreal experience. And then with time, that wears off. With time, it becomes, your place where you stay. And I was doing a lot of, I had two things that I really focused on: governing the country and survival. Because from the moment I won, before I got to office, all of a sudden, they came down. Nobody has ever been treated that way. And you see that. You see where in the Washington Post very early on, they said, well, now the impeachment stuff starts. And it did. It literally started from the beginning. So I had survival and run the nation. I had a combination. Most people don't have the survival. They get in.
Did you just float out the idea of getting rid of income taxes and replacing it with tariffs?
Well, okay.
Were you serious about that?
Yeah, sure. But why not? Because our country was the richest relatively in the 1880s and 1890s. A president who was assassinated named McKinley. He was the tariff king. He spoke beautifully of tariffs. His language was really beautiful. We will not allow the enemy to come in and take our jobs and take our factories and take our workers and take our families unless they pay a big price. And the big price is tariffs. And he'd speak like that, but he was right. And then around in the early 1900s, they switched over stupidly to, frankly, an income tax. And you know why? Because countries were putting a lot of pressure on America. We don't want to pay tariffs. Please don't. Believe me, they control our politicians.
Now, we're going to put the link to the full interview down in the description section so you can watch the 2 hours and 50 minutes. If you got enough time to do it, I think it's worth doing it. But there's a lot of other parts that are going viral online that I think are significant to give you a little taste of kind of what's going on in the interview. I think it's good for you to watch these clips, but if you want to watch the full version of it, you can watch it in the description section. But Donald Trump killed it. If someone listened to this and they were on the fence about Trump, they loved Trump, or they kind of didn't like Trump, Trump won them over. He went through a plethora of different things. The moment he got into office was one thing that I thought was incredible. I mentioned it before, but I thought it was cool to hear his exact description of how it was surreal, how he didn't expect to win. And then when he won, he's there and he don't know anybody. And so now he got to pick people by trusting other people. And we all know that some of those people went sour.
The biggest mistake I made was I picked some people. I picked some great people, but you don't think about that. I picked some people that I shouldn't have picked. I picked a few people that I shouldn't have picked. And
neocons?
Yeah, neocons, or bad people, or disloyal people, or
people that were just
people that were into the
you got bad advice.
Yeah, I mean, look, you're reading about him a little bit today. A guy like Kelly, who was a bully, but a weak person. You know more about bullies than anybody probably around because you deal in a certain sport where the bullies are exposed very quickly.
Yeah.
But he's bad. Bolton was an idiot, but he was great for me because I'd go in with a guy like a John Bolton. You know John Bolton. A friend of mine called me up. I was picking Bolton, and he's a very smart guy. His name is Phil Ruffin. He's a very rich guy from Las Vegas. He's a great card player. He doesn't play cards, but he's a great player. He's just a natural. Got poker sense, right? The good old poker sense. And Phil Ruffin is a very, very wise kind of a guy, and one of the richest people around, and has had great success and understands people. So it was in that I was picking Bolton, or I picked Bolton. He called up. He said, "Don't pick him. Why? He's a bad guy." Now, he wasn't in politics at all. He's in various businesses. He said, "He's a bad guy. It always works out bad with that guy." I said, "Oh, man, I wish you told me this 2 weeks ago. I already hired him. He's here." And he was right.
And they gave me a lot of understanding because I was like, man, how do he pick all these people? Man, he don't know how to pick people. Well, really what happened was when you don't know anybody, you got to start from somewhere, and then you trust people and they backstab you. And I know that all too well. When you look at the people that started in the conservative movement with me and were friends with me, we would go to podcasts together, we were on interviews together, we went to a retreat out here in Phoenix, and I think 80% of them hate me today and say I'm a fraud and sellout. People I invited to the White House, I got them in the White House, and I'm a fraud and sellout. So I understand that part when Trump was alluding to that. But then also, he had a lot of stuff to say about Kamala Harris, which I think was absolutely hilarious. And he said she's a dummy. She's low IQ, and she is.
And the rhetoric is also that you're Hitler, and that in order to stop Hitler, you have to do whatever it takes.
That was okay, yeah.
Yeah, and this is, you're hearing this now. Kamala said your love of Hitler yesterday.
Kamala's a very low IQ person. She's a very low IQ. I'm for taking tests, too. I think anybody that runs for president they should give them tests. And it's not an age thing. It's not based. If you look back on history, 70s and 80s, some of your greatest leaders in the world history, long-time world history, they were in their 70s and their 80s. But I think you should take cognitive tests. I think they say it's unconstitutional. But
That's ridiculous.
I think Kamala should have a test because there's something missing. There's something wrong with her.
He asked him about racism and Hitler and how Oprah loved him, and all these people loved him. Like, you can go look at the episode of The View.
Donald Trump is a billionaire, a real estate mogul, and a television star. But does he really want to add President of the United States to his resume? A lot of people would like him to. Please, let's find out, and please welcome my friend, Donald Trump.
Back when he went on The View, before he became president, they had him on, they loved him, they kissed him on the cheek, they loved Donald Trump. Then he became president, and the devil came out of these people. And then the RFK Files and all the stuff he was saying was absolutely incredible.
One of the things that I wanted to talk to you about is the JFK Files. And one of the things that you said was that if they showed you what they showed me, this was your quote, you wouldn't want people to know it either.
So I opened them up partially. I was met from good people. Good people. People that were well-meaning. Mike Pompeo was one of them. He's a good person. They called me. They said, "Sir, would rather have you not." And I did open them. But I was asked by some people not to open them. There's a Martin Luther King file, too, by the way, that they'd like to see. I don't know if you know, but there is that. But JFK in particular. So they called me, a lot of good people called me, people that that you would find reasonable people. And they asked me not to do it. So I said, well, we'll close it for another time. But If I win, I'm going to open them up. I'm just going to open enough.
Why
time
didn't
is-
you open it up the first time?
Because
though?
a lot of
what was
times,
the hesitation, though?
Addresses, people that are still living. There are people that are affected. And there could be some national security reason that I don't have to necessarily know about. But some very good, talented people asked me not to do it. I opened it up, and then they said, would it be possible for us to do that a different day?
How much of it did you read into?
I think it's going to be just fine to open it. Let me put it that way. I think it's fine. It's going to be time. It's a cleansing. It's really a cleansing. So I'm going to do it. I'm going to do it immediately, almost immediately upon entering office.
Well, the thing, when people look at it from the outside and you sort of imagine what could be a reason why they would not release those files, it would be there's people that were implicated in the assassination.
Yeah. Well, when there are living people, you generally tend not to want to do it. When people are still living.
Living people that formerly worked for the government.
And living people that were somehow involved in it, and you tend not to do that. But it's time to open them. I can't tell you whether or not they're going to find anything of interest. And I did partially open. I think I've opened 50%, but I was asked not to do it, and I thought that was a reasonable ask. But now I'm going to do it. I'm going to do it very soon.
This is going to win him the election. And the fact that Kamala Harris didn't even have the gall to go on this show. Maybe she will. Maybe after watching Trump, she's like, I got to do something. But I don't think she has enough depth and substance.
Is you need a free and fair press. One of the things I like about doing a show like this, can you imagine Kamala doing this show?
I could imagine her doing this show.
She'd be laying on the floor.
She was supposed to do it, and she might still do it, and I hope she does.
She's not going to do it.
I will talk to her like a human being. I would try to have a conversation with her.
If she did this kind of an interview with you, I hope she does, because it would be a mess. She'd be laying on the floor comatose. You'd be saying, call in the medics.
Donald Trump explained tariffs like a pro. Donald Trump explained how he's going to change the economy in the regulations that are in place right now, and when he got in the office that he changed that helped us grow. I mean, the dude got a plan, and it makes sense. For him to say about car manufacturers, China is going to open a factory in Mexico and sell the cars right in the United States of America. Going to put GM and all these other companies out of business. All this electric car stuff. Everybody going to have electric by 2025, 2030, 2035. Where are we going to get the cars from? China. They're not going to manufacture it here, especially if you're going to raise corporate taxes. They're just going to outsource and manufacture these electric cars and get them shipped over in America. And these idiots that are running our country now are not going to do anything about it. They're going to put people in America out of business. And he said something else I thought was really good, too. He said corporate taxes he want to take down to 25% and 15% for people who are doing business only in America.
I got Macron of France. Good guy, he's like a friend of mine. But he's a wise guy. And he's a person that likes France. And he was going to tax our companies. I say, and I sent all the smartest guys. I sent Mnuchin, and they all failed me. And I said, I'll do it myself. And I called him. I said, Emmanuel, you're taxing American companies. We're not going to allow you to do that. Oh, Donald, I cannot do it. Nothing I could do. It's already been passed. I said, Emmanuel, if you do that, I'm going to put 100% tariff on your wines and champagnes that come into the United States, and you're going to regret that you ever did it. He said, Donald, please, that's not fair. Anyway, within about 2 minutes, he dropped the whole thing, and it was massive amounts of money against American companies. I have to protect American companies.
So why doesn't the Biden administration do this?
Because they're incompetent. They don't know how to talk.
That's a plan. That is a plan for the people. It makes sense. He talked about it for hours. That's why I love the guy, man. So I'm sure you guys enjoy the clips that you've seen or you're about to see. And this changed the game, man. This changed the game. Donald Trump, it's like I was watching a surreal moment. I was watching the moment of a great man that is gonna go down in history, like George Washington, like Abraham Lincoln, like some of the great historical people that made an incredible difference in this country. Donald Trump will be that person. I met the guy in person. He's a genuine guy. You see him on the Joe Rogan podcast. He's a genuine guy. He's not Hitler and all this so crazy stuff they're saying. He's a great man. He is one of the greatest men to live. Now, does he have his problems? Yeah. Did King David have his problems? Yeah, King David definitely had his problems. He couldn't get off Bathsheba. He willing to kill people to have concubines and wives and all this other stuff. So he had his problems. But was King David a great man? I think he was. Now, is Trump like King David? No. It's a whole different genre. But I think that Trump is equally, in terms of the dispensation of time that we live in today's society, Donald Trump is a great man. And he will go down in history as one of the greatest men that ever lived. I guarantee you. And I'm not saying that because he's going to pay me. Donald Trump haven't done my podcast. He haven't come on my show, and he don't pay me. So it is not like I got to kiss his butt to say that. I genuinely, from my heart, believe that he's a great man. And that's why I support him, and I'm going to support him to the end. Anyway, go check out the Joe Rogan podcast. Link is in the description section. We got the clips we play for you. I think you'll enjoy it. I'll see you on the next one, man.